Okay, it's time for the basic move section of the show. Now we've got some chicken breasts here. If you've looked at the break it down section, you know how to make these yourself. If you want to just go to the store and buy them, it's totally cool. This is the bone-in skin on. This is the boneless skin on. And again, if you really are watching your skin consumption for some reason, pull this puppy off and then it's a skin off chicken breast. Now, basic move section, we're talking no fancy techniques here. We're talking about not challenging ourselves culinarily too much, but I'm still gonna always teach you some core technique. We're gonna throw a little marinade on this. Craig, if you could hand me some garlic and a shallot, and then also maybe a sprig of thyme or rosemary. Now garlic, you know, this is a head of garlic. Each one of these little sections is called a clove. A lot of people don't like to mess with garlic because they feel like it takes a long time to peel, or it's stinky, messy, whatever. It doesn't take a long time to peel. It's really simple. Now, if you're a big, strong guy like me, you can just do this. If you're a light-hearted person who doesn't have as much confidence just crushing with their hands, or maybe you don't want to get the garlic on your hands, you can bang it with a knife. But always do one or the other, because what that does is loosens the garlic from the skin and it just pops right out, okay? If you smash it with your hand like I did, sometimes you'll see that the clove is crushed up a little bit, but guess what? When you use garlic, most of the time you crush it up and chop it. So there we go. So I'm just, you know, for this, we're just gonna coarsely chop and separate this stuff out. Grab a little bit of rosemary there, Craig, while I'm stripping the thyme leaves. You see I'm just running my fingernail, my thumbnail along the strand here to pull the leaves off. If you really want to get each one off, sometimes if you're in a restaurant or working for a chef who's really, really uptight, they want you to go this way, so you get a really clean stalk and don't leave anything behind. This one's the rosemary, and we're just going to use a little bit. Rosemary is wicked strong, so just a little bit goes a long, long way. So, you know, I'm just going to run my knife very quickly over these herbs just to release a little more of their fragrance. And, you know, the garlic, you know, I don't want it too small. I don't want the pieces too small. You see how I'm just crunching it down? It's partially chopped already now. Now I'm going to just, you know, go one direction, then peel the garlic off of the knife, and then chop the other direction. And what that's going to do is give me some more uniform pieces, still keeping it kind of large and chunky. Then I'm going to take the shallot. Now, the shallot looks a lot like an onion. The one thing that I'd like to tell you about the onions, shallots, garlic, they're all in the lily family. Just like the bulbs that grow in the garden, these are bulbs that will then put out a green shoot and a big flower and then more bulbs. So if you're buying garlic, you really don't want to see that bright green shoot coming up through the middle. We'll talk more about that later. But onions and shallots, you take them apart basically the same way because of these rings inside. It's really simple to get a nice dice if you just take it apart and understand the anatomy. Now you can see the beginning of a little green shoot. That's the way the plant works. But with a shallot, it's no problem. Now, I hate to disappoint you, but there's no escape from the sulfuric acid in an onion. If you get a fresh, bright onion or one that's been stored perfectly, when you cut open and it releases the gases, you're gonna cry. So maybe 30% of the time I'm bawling, and it doesn't matter how many years. I don't even think that goggles work.
It's the joy of cooking there.
I've seen people put the goggles on, still crying.
Wow.
So, you know, the basic onion chop, if you want to get a dice, we're gonna go kind of large here, but just by making one cut across these little lines, or two cuts, you
and not all the way through.
And not all the way through. You separate these into sort of, you see, kind of uniform sections. And then by going down this way, through the onion from the top, you can see I'm setting myself up here for onion success. Now I'm going to just go down this way. And there I've got some nice diced shallots. Now all we're going to do is toss that with the chicken. Now since we're going to grill this right away, I'm going to go ahead and season it right now when I'm marinating. If you could, if you were going to do this at home and you were going to marinate it earlier and then go, say, for a skate session or whatever, and then come back and cook later, you would want to do this, throw it in the fridge, and then salt and pepper at the end. But we're going to roll right into cooking. We're going to go out in the loading dock and fire up the hibachi, so we're going to do this right here and now. And actually, if you could grab the other bottle of olive oil too, I'll do a quick demonstration. You know, this is a pure olive oil, which means it's not extra virgin or even virgin, but it's pure. That means that they press the olives once really quickly, they get the cold, extra virgin, then they press them again, and that's the virgin. And then they press them again, and that's the pure. Now, pure has a really mild flavor. If you see the extra light olive oil, you know, I don't really recommend using it because it's basically, you know, just sort of watered down version of this. So, but the reason I had you get me the other one is the extra virgin olive oil. It has a big, strong flavor. So when you're marinating or making a vinaigrette or something that you want the big flavor, I don't want to use the mild olive oil. I'm going to use the big one. And you don't have to spend $1 bajillion. This stuff comes in tiny little bottles. But if you want a big, fresh flavor or you're using it for just a little touch, you want to get a strong olive oil, not a boring, bland, flat, tasteless olive oil. So we're gonna just, again, use your hands. You know, you could get a spoon, some tongs, but you know what, just use your hands. So I have my pepper mill here. I really like to use only freshly ground pepper, but later on I'll show you ways to grind it even if you don't have a pepper mill. You can get a basic pepper mill fairly cheaply, so I would recommend just getting a basic one. You know, it really makes a difference. Fresh ground pepper is night and day different than the kind that you get already ground. Also, some salt. I recommend sea salt, just because it's natural. It happens from the sea. You know, it's harvested using sunlight for all sorts of reasons. It's environmentally sound, and it also has like 46 different minerals that the iodized salt that's processed and produced industrially doesn't have. Okay, we've got our chicken breast seasoned, a little salt and pepper. I've got the shallots, garlic, the rosemary, thyme, a little Dijon mustard, and the extra virgin olive oil. We're ready to head out to the hibachi with the chicken, and I'm going to show you the basic techniques and how to feel how the chicken's cooking and how to know when to pull it off and let it rest like you're supposed to. All right, out on the loading dock. What I've got here is your basic hibachi. This one is made of cast iron. It's by the people that make those cast iron pans. If you're cooking it apartment style or you just have one little space to do your barbecuing or grilling, I really recommend a hibachi like this one or the small one. Try to keep them cast iron, you know, the one with the two little handles. The cast iron holds all that heat. So the little barbecues that they have now that are made of the little flimsy metal, they don't hold their heat, so you can't cook for a long time and the product gets burned because the fire's too hot. This is gonna cook from all that radiant heat. So here we go. We're gonna do skin side down. Don't worry about that marinade, it's gonna cook right off. Skin side down at first. We're gonna get that skin nice and caramelized. I'm gonna move the coals over a little bit. See how I can open up the front of this guy, get the heat going. Move the coals around right underneath. If you were gonna cook a lot more, we're gonna cook the asparagus later on in this grill, and you can get the full surface covered. You can hear that nice sizzling. Now, what you're gonna learn when you're cooking the chicken, that you can, again, I'm talking about touching the food a little bit. You need to get comfortable touching the food. See how that's squishy, really soft? You'll see in a little while as it begins to cook, that texture is going to change, and that's how we're going to tell when it's done. Okay, now we've had a minute or two on this side. We're going to get in here under the skin and go ahead and get the marinade that's come off. And you see you're getting some of that golden brown goodness. It's not all black, you know. If you had a little bit hotter grill, you could get those black char marks if you want here. But we're just, you know, getting that skin rendered out. That means getting the fat out of the skin a little bit. And you get that golden, crispy goodness. I'm gonna add a little more coal, and you know, I wanna teach you guys not to be afraid of fire. I add a little more coal in there, and I'm gonna blow on it just like you would a campfire to get it going. There you go. See how that fire came right up? Now I'm going to rotate this chicken. The one on the bone is going to take a little longer to cook than the other one, and you're going to have to rotate it around and around. Now the one without the bone is going to cook a little more quickly. You can see that beautiful golden color. You can smell that mesquite flavor going. Okay, couple minutes have passed. Let's get these chicken breasts rotated around here. Again, the bone-in one's gonna take longer. Part of why the bone-in keeps that chicken juicy is because it has that extra structure there to protect the meat. We're gonna also turn the skin one. Now you can see that beautiful color. You can see the, I wanna show you that feel. Now see how this one is still squishy? Let me turn it on. See, squishy. But then check this one out. It's starting to get firm, not so squishy. Squishy, firm. See? The bone-in one, our boneless one is cooking much more quickly. One important element of cooking meat, roasting meat, anytime you're cooking any sort of fish, any meat of any kind, is that when you take it off of the grill and away from this intense heat, it doesn't stop cooking right away. There's this period where all those juices and all those molecules are raging around through the meat, through the different vessels, between the different tissues. And if you pull it off of this grill and cut it right away, all the juice is going to run out. The other key thing is if you pull it off when it's completely cooked, as it rests, that's what they call this period where the juices are reapportioning themselves, is if you don't let it rest, all the juices will run out and it will overcook if you cook it all the way to the point where it's completely done here. So what we're going to do is cook it till it's almost done, take it inside and let it rest just for a couple minutes before we cut it. All right, here we go, guys. The boneless skin-on one is total perfection. And this guy is looking beautifully too. Now, what I'd like you to do is, if you're going to do this at home and maybe you're going to serve this later, you can grill it to the point where it's almost done and then take it off, let it rest, and then right before you serve it, you can warm it up in the oven and serve it with something else. So this is our basic move today, the grilled chicken breast. We'll slice it up and go see how it tastes. Okay, we're back in from the loading dock now, ready to finish the basic move, the grilled chicken breast. I just want to show you that perfect feel. See the juice coming out of that puppy? All we have to do now is slice it and enjoy it. So just a few slices. You can serve it just like this. You can chop it up for a salad. The one thing I'd like you to see though is all of that sweet juice. You can see how moist that is. It's all about the temperature of the grill, being patient, and letting the poor bird rest.